Yeah, so I'm Stevie Chancellor. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I've been here for about 3 years, and the work I do is about building what I would call human-centered AI or human AI systems that help us predict mental illness in social media data. So that combines computer science with building AI systems, evaluating user interfaces, and deploying that alongside a focus in mental health. And so I focus a lot on severe mental illness, like eating disorders and self-injury.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about how you became interested in that area and maybe what drives that passion for you to use tech in that way?
Yeah, totally. That's a really good question because I kind of have an unconventional computer science background. So we're going to rewind along many years now. In high school, I was in a math and science magnet program. And unfortunately, I was one of the only girls in many of my coding and math classes.
Yeah.
And so while I was in a lot of STEM classes that were pretty advanced, I got really sick of constantly being the only girl in those classes. And I experienced a lot of the things that women stereotypically experience in STEM, like bullying. And so I
Yeah.
actually dropped out of CS, but was moonlighting as a web end developer or a back-end web developer during college. I taught myself how to program. I taught myself computer science, missed it so much after dropping out that I had to come back to it. And
Yeah.
that experience was really formative for me in how I think about technology. I really think that STEM and the creation of new technology should be for human good.
100%.
And my interest in mental health is partially because I'm a person with mental illness, but also because I think it's one of the most pressing issues that we have right now. There's so many people who go without treatment,
Yep.
mental health stigmatized, and it's an area I feel really passionately that tech can make a difference when done with care and respect.
Well, and hopefully break down some of those barriers to people getting the help that they need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. So in Minnesota, we have some of the best access to care in the US. The ratio between providers and population is actually quite good. But there's many states and even, more rural and less urban parts of Minnesota have lower access to care where there will be thousands of people per every provider.
Yeah.
There's no way that like every provider can provide that. And more importantly, a lot of people they feel stigmatized seeking care for their mental health.
Right.
That's those barriers are coming down. It's awesome that people are starting to seek out that care and treatment, but we need more providers. We need support, and that's where I hope that AI can help bridge the gap between what people are providing and what is available now and what we can do while we wait for more people to become available.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of barriers, and you kind of touched
Yeah,
on this a little bit, but kind of the barriers around women and female participation in
yeah.
computer science. Like, what are some of the things that you think are maybe the key challenges or and opportunities that we have in that in getting more engagement there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges, and these aren't limited just to college level computer science.
Yeah.
We like to talk about pipeline problems, right? Where women are told from an early age that they're not as good at math and science as they are at reading. And we're socialized to be very social,
Yeah.
accommodating people as women. And we're driven away from careers with more logic and ambition that might come with computer science.
Yeah.
So for me, I experienced a lot of um, bullying and stigma when I was a girl in advanced computing and math classes. I was in differential equations in high school, which is
Okay.
like pretty cool. And I was the only girl and constantly getting made fun of. My teachers didn't intervene. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. This
Well,
is
it's a
not,
lot to deal with and
oh my
handle.
God, it's awful. I was also 17 and not nearly as opinionated as I am now,
Right.
and didn't tell people to proverbially pound sand. So I think half of this as the challenge is just asking questions about whether the environments that we're making for people in computing that aren't often there, whether it be women or people of color, are the environments inviting? Are
Yeah.
teachers and professors aware of the problems that can come up with folks in tech, like when women are present in the classroom? Are they designing lessons and plans in inclusive ways? I remember some of my early coding assignments being about sports, and a lot of women aren't as into sports, but you could imagine that there's lots of different um, apps or ideas that you could pitch at people that would be more inclusive of interest for just for women.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is making sure that the women that are available. I try really hard to make myself available for mentoring and support to keep women in. I didn't
Absolutely.
have a female mentor in computer science until my PhD advisor.
Okay.
And that was a really long time. And I want undergrads and high school students to feel like they can come talk to me about the fact that, people are, what do I do when people are being unkind to me? How do I stand up for myself? How do I bring these interests, which feel like 75% of my class isn't interested in them, up?
Yeah.
Having supportive mentors be able to help people find their voice, I think, is really crucial. And it's one of the ways that I most enjoy giving back to women in the community, because that was the mentor support that really stuck with me and made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah. Do you think that universities and even younger, like high schools, are they doing enough to support that type of environment? Like,
I think that
are there
I,
resources
I think the
available?
challenge is computer science, especially Minnesota, is one of the lowest rates of computer science exposure in K through 12.
Yeah.
We were talking about this actually in a meeting, and we were all surprised given how many big tech companies and important industries are based out of Minneapolis,
Yeah.
how little computer science there is in K through 12 schools. Like there
Yeah.
aren't even, I'm not gonna quote the stats because I think they might be wrong. Um,
I actually can quote.
yeah, it's bad. It's
It's
bad.
we're the worst. We're
I know.
51st out of 50.
I know
So
it's really bad.
Puerto Rico is doing better than we
But
are.
we're really bad at computer science teaching to
Yeah.
K through 12, which
Yeah.
to me, like for computer science teachers in those classes, I'm sure they're doing the best with what they have available to them, which
Right.
is really limited resources. But I do
Right.
understand that when you're in front of students, you have to trade off
Yeah.
managing a classroom, getting through the lessons, like making sure that you maintain like a classroom environment, and honestly more resources that are available to teachers so that they have more options for lessons, more
Right.
project opportunities, folks like me coming into the classroom and talking about how my kind of not traditional computer science job is an option. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even know you could do coding and it wasn't just to be a software engineer
Right.
until I was in undergrad actually.
Okay. So yeah,
And
you didn't even know until
no, I had
college.
no idea. I was moonlighting. So I was moonlighting as a backend web developer, building out WordPress. Like I guess WordPress is still pretty big now, but like
Yep.
WordPress backend plugins for companies and doing a lot of website management and maintenance. So I was like all in PHP, all in the web
Yeah.
development space. And I was like, oh, this isn't real computer science. Like
Right.
invalidating myself because I had this narrative from high school, these boys who were just brutal just in my head, like, oh no, girls aren't in CS. No, that is
Right.
real computers, that is real computing,
It
it's real and
more and
legitimate,
more every day, right? Like
right?
as we're getting into like low code and no code stuff, like
Oh, I know.
that's what it comes to.
I know,
Um,
and it's also it's frustrating because I often mentor women from high school who want to get into computer science as a possible research direction. Two
yeah.
of the women I've mentored from the Twin Cities, they're so smart. They're so brilliant. And really
Yeah.
what we need is the like connection and the knowledge and the ability to like recognize all this wonderful opportunities in computing and to make sure that people are not pushing them out, right? I'm not going to
Right.
say that we can only solve this with positive vibes only. We have to make sure that people stop bullying and harassment and making computing environments, quite frankly, they can be really unwelcoming.
Yeah, 100%. And that's going to help everybody,
Oh,
not just
absolutely.
women, not,
Right.
it's
It also helps,
makes
people
it
who just
better.
had different interests, people who
Yeah.
came from backgrounds that weren't a top tier math and science magnet school, right? A lot of
Right.
people don't get exposure to computer science in high school like I did.
Right.
And when you have hotshots in your first level class that are like, oh, I already know how for loops work, and I don't even need, can we just skip this and they're icing out every
Right.
other reasonable question, that's really isolating for people, not just women, for people who are new to computer science.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
huge turnoff. Yeah.
yeah,
So I want to bring this up a little because we're right on the cusp of this, but your work is being recognized, right? And
yeah.
you have an upcoming TEDx talk on
I'm so excited.
Tuesday. Without giving us too much information, can you
Yeah.
give us kind of a sneak peek about what you're talking about and what you hope the audience will get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my TEDx talk is kind of an encapsulation of my experiences in computing and how that's led to me thinking of how we should build artificial intelligence to help with mental health. Um, most of the work, excuse me, most of the work that I do is about making technology that is effective and accurate at detecting and intervening when you know that something's going, when you know that a person's well-being is declining.
Yeah.
But I also really care about doing right by the people that we're making predictions on. And there's so many different examples of bad uses of AI that are hurtful and insincere and downright creepy. And the talk gives a vision for another way that we could build what I like to call human centered or people centered AI. So the talk kind of lays out the people centered AI idea and talks about what we can do with it for mental health. And so I'm really excited for people to hear that vision because I think people often assume that computer science lacks the empathy and ethics behind its building. And that can
Right.
actually be a superpower in building really impactful tech that truly, truly works because it not only makes the prediction right, but it gets people what they need.
Right. Right. What uh how did you get involved with the TEDx? Like, did you submit your idea? Like, what does that process look like
Um,
for you?
so I believe that the TEDx folks have an open call for submissions where you film a 90-second kind of mini pitch of the talk.
Okay.
I was contacted by one of the curation organizers, the people who kind of think about the program and the vision for TEDx Minneapolis,
Yep.
and was asked if I wanted to submit. I submitted back in February. Wasn't sure that I would get it. I was very nervous, but was really humbled and really excited when they emailed me in March asking me to do it. And at the time in March, I was 7 months pregnant
Okay.
and was like, can I actually do this over the summer? Um, the team has been phenomenal. They've been so helpful. My speaking coach,
Good.
LM, she's wonderful. She's coached me all the way through getting out the little, the little fidgets and
Yep.
the like little nitpick in my talk. So it's good. Oh, it's going to be really good. I'm really
I'm
excited. They've
excited.
been wonderful in supporting us.
That's good. That's good. Is there a theme to the night or is it just kind of
The
disparate
theme,
talks?
okay, hold on. TEDx Minneapolis. I think it is something about convergence or confluence. Hold on.
Okay.
What does it say? Um, we gather to celebrate a powerful convergence of minds, dreams, and actions.
Okay.
TEDx Minneapolis 2024 presents Confluence, where ideas meet action.
Okay.
TEDx event that encapsulates the transformative energy created when visionary thinking intersects with purposeful doing.
That
And
seems
so a
right up
lot
your
of
alley.
yeah, it is absolutely up my alley. I won't say I'm a cautious optimist about AI tech, and so I was really excited to be able to pitch a vision for tech that
Yeah.
wasn't just get rid of this technology. It's not actually that good.
Right. Which I mean, there's some argument that it's not actually that good, but
Okay,
like
I
it
I can go in,
can get better, right?
I can go in a real deep dive about the problems that it has,
Right.
but at some point, those problems we can work to solve. Some
Yeah.
of them are kind of fundamental to the technology, though, like the fact that large language models need tons of data.
Yeah.
That problem, no matter what we do, we can't solve that problem,
Right.
which means we have to grapple with the consequences of it ingesting billions and trillions of pieces of data. How are we going to handle our privacy in that scenario? What does it mean when LLMs or voices are imitating our loved ones that may no longer be with us?
Right.
Those are questions that I think we need to grapple with even before the technology has the hiccups kind of gotten out, and we get through the hiccups, and because those are going to be there no matter how good or how bad the tech is.
Yeah, I honestly, my opinion, I don't know that we'll ever get rid of all of those hiccups.
No, no, and
Like,
I think that
they're
we
kind
need
of
to
made out of it.
accept that there's going to be
Yeah.
hiccups.
Yeah.
It's like we in other areas where safety is critical, like
Yeah.
in high dangerous machinery, high risk environments, we build in so much safety to the design of technology
Right.
because we know that sometimes it will fail.
Yep.
Even our best guesses on airplane designs and with machinery and in nuclear power plants, in healthcare settings, we design all of these with multiple modes that catch for failure. And
Yep.
that's good, right? That's great. That means catastrophic accidents very rarely happen,
Yep.
especially in surgical settings or with nuclear power plants.
Yep.
Why don't we have the same attitude about AI? I think there's a lot of excitement about startup culture and building things quickly and making things kind of messy.
Yep.
But in many cases, we need that technology to be reliable and safe, to
Right.
know that it's not going to hurt people when we deploy it for mental health. And
Right.
I'm really strong. I strongly advocate for this kind of safety first approach to AI development. We have a lot of models of how we do this in engineering already. Why not
Right.
adapt it here?
No, that makes huge sense to me. So kind of as you look toward the future, and I know
Yeah.
you're not, none of us really know what's going to happen or what's coming.
Uh-huh.
But what trends or developments that you're seeing, or maybe even can think of, are you most eager to explore in computer science, especially as it relates to your research?
So one of the things I will say I'm curious about, and this is kind of a controversial answer as an educator. I'm really curious about how we learn to integrate large language models and code generation into our educational strategies. I think right now there's a lot of, um, let's see, I think right now there's a lot of nervousness about how ChatGPT and Claude and all of these LLMs are going to hurt computer science education.
Yeah.
And I like to think about this like I think about the introductions of calculators to mathematics. At this point, we don't need to spend tons of time remembering how to do addition, especially for large numbers. We can
Right.
use calculators to support us. But I wasn't allowed to use a calculator until I was in what, third, fourth grade? I don't even remember when I did the transition, but I know that there was a period where I was doing review and drilling so I could learn how to add.
Yep.
I'm really curious about how we are able to augment the generative capacity of LLMs into education to support more people having access to coding and computing,
Yep.
while also recognizing that it's really important we get the educational foundations of tech building and computer science right. Right. I'm
Right.
not going to say that it should replace CS1 and 2. No, absolutely
No.
not. We need to understand how loops work because that's a fundamental building block of
Yep.
lots of code. But I'm really curious how we start innovating in this space to bring these systems in for more advanced classes that will help people develop faster and more efficiently.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's awesome. I know you and I have not talked about this, but I have actually been running a program called Upskill Minnesota with the Minnesota State universities and
Uh-huh.
colleges, introducing so kind of fundamental computational thinking,
Uh-huh.
but then an introduction to AI and coding by
Oh, cool.
using the large language models to basically pair program starting in middle school.
That's really
So
cool.
yeah, we've had about 2,000 people go through it so
What?
far, and it's really fun to watch them like
That's
generate
sick.
their first 100 lines of working code and like just get excited about it because it takes over that barrier of
Right.
fear and of like, oh, I can't do this, it's
Right.
hard.
And like part of it, it's like learning to code is hard.
It
I
is.
think we
Yeah.
just like sometimes people like to act like that's not true. It's hard.
Yeah.
And getting those first couple of lines on the page is so intimidating. I remember being intimidated. It's like, I don't remember the syntax. I don't remember how
Right.
to spell. I don't even know why it's giving me this error. And having trusted companions to help you with that, whether that is a teacher or
Yeah.
maybe it's an LLM based tutor or
Yeah.
supporting and scaffolding this learning, I think can be really phenomenal. I
Yeah.
just don't want people to get nervous about this and say, oh my gosh, it's getting rid of CS1 and 2, which is not,
We
that's not a
have
good outcome at
we
all.
have to understand how those things work
How would
and
you debug it
why.
if it makes an error, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like why do you need the code to do something?
Right.
And how are you going to get that to happen? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's super cool. I'm excited. I'd love to talk to you more about that as we go. And after your after your TEDx talk this
Yeah,
next week.
I'm really excited. I really, I remember when TEDx was like this really, really big thing. So for me, that was when I was in high school. I
Yeah,
remember sharing all the TEDx's or TED Talks with my friends and being like, oh my gosh, these are so cool. These
right.
people are amazing. I like want to be like them. And
And you are.
now I'm giving my own TED Talk, which is
That's so
wild.
cool. That's very
I'm so
cool.
excited.
Are there other initiatives or anything else going on at the U that you want people to be aware of, or are there other kind of broader initiatives or things that you're working on that you want people
Yeah,
to know
actually,
about?
something that could be fun to the folks listening. We being me and my colleagues, I'm in an area that's halfway between AI and human computer interaction.
Yep.
So, how people interact with computers kind of at large. Our introductory classes, we're working on revamping them to be more relevant to our undergrad population at the University of Minnesota. And one
Nice.
of the things we've always wanted to do was figure out ways to bring in more local folks to talk to our students about user interface and UX
Yeah.
as a really important part of computer science, but also to find possibly opportunities for our students to build experimental UIs and UX. So we
Nice.
used to run this class with local businesses and I think some nonprofits to build user interfaces.
Yeah.
And that sort of faded off when the class started changing hands between people. And
Okay.
now that we're rethinking this class, this idea has come up again. And so if there's folks who are interested in that, I'd love to talk, even if it's just for a panel one day in class about user interfaces and UX and building for humans. And also like more human-centered applications of computer science, like building medical devices or user-facing technology. Would
Yeah.
love to talk to folks. But if you've also got ideas of ways to collaborate with us, I would love to put you in touch with my colleagues.
Awesome. No, that's exciting. I think that kind of hands-on and first-person experience, like even just hearing those stories, is super impactful. So
Yeah,
I think that's
and part of
good.
it is I want my students to feel more connected to the local tech scene as well.
100%.
I'm a transplant, and so I have a lot less connection to the Minnesota tech scene myself, and it's something I've been growing over the past few years. And for my students who want to stay in Minnesota,
Yeah.
how can we get them connected with all of the wonderful opportunities that are available in the state, right? I know we have a programmer shortage. We have a software engineering shortage in the state. It's real.
It is
Um,
real.
and I want y'all to meet my amazing students because they're so curious, they're so funny, and I need y'all to meet them. So
Yeah, no, I we need to meet them.
they're
So,
so funny.
yeah.
I love my undergrads.
That's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Stevie, for taking some time to chat and let us know about the stuff that you're doing.
Thanks for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, if there's other ways that we can support you, like please reach out. I will call on my networks to
Mhm.
help you and get in front of your students because we have a ton of people that love to give back in that way. So,
Yeah, that
um,
would be amazing. And it would also
yeah,
be awesome once I get the recording of the talk. So I'll
yeah,
do the talk live, and then a month or two afterwards, if
yeah.
Big TED, which is the main TED audience, approves it, it will go online. It'd be
Okay,
awesome if we
cool.
could circulate it too, because I want others in the community to hear about the the way that we're building technology that's so important for making sure that computer science stays sustainable and ethical as we move forward.
100%. Yep. I applaud your efforts and I'm excited to hear your talk. So
Awesome.
good
Thank you
luck.
so much for inviting me. This was fab. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.